welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I'm working on Mixed Media Mayhem. This is a hop hosted by, I believe, MK Gunn and Janet Fritz. And they have a Facebook community group for their Mixed Media Mayhem prompts. This is this week's prompt, and it's a recipe challenge. And so I kind of started off camera because I wanted things to have time to dry a little bit. So let's talk about what I started with. This is just a piece of white cardstock, and I was going to use gesso on it, but guess what? My gesso was all dried up, so I couldn't use it. What I did grab was a very old white acrylic paint, and by old I mean it was roughly purchased in 2011 or 12 and was used for a bunch of homeschool projects back when all of my kids were still at home. And so if you can see, as I painted this paper, I ended up with a lot of fun texture and brush marks, and that is kind of what my goal was. And you can use Vicki Boutin's foundation paper. I believe that it mimics gesso. It might actually have some on it, I'm not sure, but again, I wanted to really play with this, and so I have this done, and it is currently dry, so that means I can move on to the next step, which will also take some time to dry. This is a photo that I took in 2017 in Georgia. We were visiting some friends. We were stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia from 2010 to 2013, and we created our own family of sorts there through our church and homeschool groups. And so after we moved, we would travel back and forth to see our friends. Our friends now currently live in Ohio, and we just moved from Fort Knox, Kentucky recently, and we were about 2.5 hours away from their house in Ohio, so we were able to spend a little bit of time with them before we moved yet again. And we're hoping that they will come out this coming summer to hang out with us here. That would be really fun. But anyway, I have some solar paste from Simon Hurley. This one has not been opened. I bought the full pack. I have a Vicki Boutin stencil here to play with. So I'm going to pause. We're going to get started. I'll be right back. So my very first step, of course, is to open the solar paste. And in the end, I probably should have just used regular texture paste because you're not going to be able to see the solar paste effects on this layout at all because I'm going to add quite a bit of wet medium to it. But I'm still getting this texture on here. And so what you see here is a circle that I cut with my Cameo. And when I cut a circle with my Cameo, I tend to save the external part because when I go to a retreat or a crop or anything and I don't have access to my Cameo, I still want to be able to make circles sometimes. So I keep these on hand. So next I'm going to kind of line up this stencil a little bit. I realize that I have it laying right on part where I had already stenciled, and it didn't mess it up too much, so that's really good. And I'm just kind of lining it up a little bit, making little rough stuff so that I have a nice little textured area. So I'm pretty happy with the texture paste at this point, and I'm set it aside and I let it dry. This is my first time playing with Lindy's magical powders. And so I actually need to say something right up front. You don't need that much. Little goes a long way. I didn't know that, and I didn't get enough water on there. You're going to see I end up with a paste rather than a liquid like I intended. But I fixed that with some more water, and then I'm just using a brush to just kind of loosely put it on there. I'm not being neat. I'm just kind of smearing it around and getting the color on here. I adore this color. It is really pretty, and I really like this product. I had never played with it before, and when HipKit offered these in their color kit for, I think, September, I was quite pleased to be able to purchase it, and I've just been kind of setting it aside. They gave us 3 of the powders and a texted star stamp, which was really cool. I'm not going to be using the star stamp on here, but I will use one of their background type stamps. Made some splatters, going to set that aside and let it dry. And I made this cut file with my Cameo. It's just a sun with the rays being arrows. I did it in a very cheap cardstock. And see, I learned my lesson. I didn't use as much of the powder as I did last time. Now, fun fact, this first bit that I pulled out had a lot more of a darker orange, almost red color. But as I play with it, it turns into a more tangerine color, which is the color on the bottle. And see, I didn't even get enough on here. Other fun fact, I used a really, really cheap piece of white cardstock, and you can see it broke. It's going to be okay, and I'm going to be fine with that. And I will glue it back down on the project whenever it's dry. I'm using my heat gun to give it a little bit of a boost with the drying process because I don't want it to, I don't want to wait all day for it to dry like I had to for the background. And so as I go, I'm adding a little more of the color in spots that it wasn't as saturated as others. I think this was a really fun thing to do, and drying it with my heat gun really, really helped a lot. So I'm just going to kind of play with it, pick it up, flip it over. You see on that one side, it is almost red, kind of a light red, and it all came from the same container. So I wonder if there's quite a few different colors in that. So now I'm going to take the yellow that was in the color kit, and I've adhered the sun onto my background at this point. And I'm going to take the yellow, add some water, and I'm going to color in the sun, and I'm going to add some color along the rays as well. Now this comes on really dark at first, but when it dries, it is really, really light, which is really cool because it gave me the idea of stamping in the middle of that sun, which you'll see me do later on. Actually, towards the end of the video, I do that. But I do love playing with these powders. I wasn't sure what I would think of them since I've never used this product before. I love the saturation. The colors are very saturated, which is amazing. You can see that blue dried quite lovely, and it looks really, really great. So now I've got everything glued down, and if you will look very, very closely, you will see I added some hand stitching, and I stitched sequins around the sun and around the water and waves. Now I'm going to take this stamp here. This is a Hip Kit Club stamp. I don't remember what month it came from, but I'm just going to use it to do a messy stamp in the center of that sun. And I think that's super fun to do, and it just gives a little bit more color and the illusion of a little bit of texture. I'm going to wipe off my space, going to grab a roll of paper towels, and I'm going to roll it across the sun to get the excess color off, and then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the rest of the layout. So I didn't say this, but late last night I decided when I got to this point of the layout that it needed some more blue color, and so I took one of Tim Holtz's new distress sprays that he just had come out in Uncharted Mariner, and I went ahead and I sprayed that blue. I used my mask that I used to create the bottom half of the circle, and then another circle to cover up so that I wouldn't have any mess, and that way I didn't have much, if any, bleed over. I did add a little bit more of the blue splatters. I love the messiness of this background. So now I'm taking this piece of paper here. It is from 49 Market's Vintage Sunburst, Vintage Artistry Sunburst or something like that. It's the collection that I'm using to finish off my cruise album. So I have a ton of it, and I'm getting to the point where I know I'm going to have more left than I need for my photos. So I just decided to dig in and use it for this layout. I have one of the film strips, I have a title, I have some ephemera pieces, and then as you probably already know, on 49 Market's product packaging, they typically have fussy cut items, and I've had a corner left over from a previous fussy cutting session, and I finished fussy cutting the 2 shells, I think 3 of the starfish, and 1 of the flowers, maybe even 2 flowers. But I love that you can use all of the product that they give you. I also have these flip-flops. They are from 49 Market. I either got them in one of my cheap shopping sessions on Amazon, or it came in the 49 Market mystery box that I got. So I'm pretty happy with how everything is laying out here. And here in a second, I'm going to pause and I'm going to glue everything down. The only journaling that is going to go on this layout is the place and the year, because it's going to end up with some other photos in the album. All right, I got this layout completely done. Everything is glued down. I did use a little bit of foam adhesive here and there, but not as much as I expected. This piece has some foam, and actually that may be the only piece I put up on foam adhesive. The rest of it I kind of layered up upon itself. I used several of the fussy cut elements from the product packaging. I did pull in one of the washi leaves right here, and I got the film strip in and the little flip-flop paper clips there. Used a background stamp to stamp into the sun to give it a little bit more color. That was kind of fun. I did also spray with a distress spritz off camera. I placed a circle over the top of this and then covered this section here, and I sprayed it to give it a little bit of shine. It's really hard to see on camera, but it's there, and I'm pretty pleased with how this one turned out. I love to dabble with mixed media. I don't get to play as often like this as I used to, and so this was a great break from just regular scrapbooking, which I also love and enjoy. So if you are new here, I would love to have you as a subscriber. My subscribers have helped make this channel, and I appreciate all of you. If you have any comments or questions about any techniques that I've used on this layout, please drop them below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I really appreciate all of you, and I love to interact with my subscribers. I hope that you guys have a great Friday and a great weekend. I am in Denver this weekend, or the Denver area this weekend, playing along with Paige Evans' Tricks and Treats weekend. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.